This video is brought to you by BTI Institute, a New Jersey leader in certification-based management training.
And so what I did, again, I'm Bob Phillips, and I need to say that anything that I share or talk about does not represent the views of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York or the Board of Governors. And with that said, I put a link to a Miro board in the chat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. All right. Let's get some stuff out of my way here. All right, so Nitin, would you like to describe Lean Coffee to help everybody get an idea of why we're here and what we're doing?
Yeah, and by way of quick introduction, my name is Nitin Khanna, and Bob and I tag team with the Agile discussion groups and the Lean Coffees. If you have not experienced this before, this is a space where there is no set agenda, there's no PowerPoints, and we're focused on the present. We are looking at the collective intellect of this group to see what comes about. It's a point of curiosity. It is really visual with a few simple swim lanes. Kanban comes from signal card. So that's certain cards, make it visible, could be color coded. Your teams might be using it. And you start with things to do or not started. Then as you go from left to right, things in progress, things that are happening in the moment, things we talk about. And then eventually at some point, we're going to say it's done or completed. We usually have the audience members come in and type something. If you have any technical issues, you can always put it in the chat. Bob and I can always put something in there. But any topic of interest or discussion or any insights you might be looking for from anybody out there, you can do this. It's anonymous. No one's going to come back to you for this. And we are seeing a few people starting to add a few things already. So let's take a few minutes and type something of interest to you that you'd like to see come about. Now
And
pause
pretty
for a moment.
much to type something, you just got to double click in the box and then you can just start typing. And then if you scroll to the end of the list, you'll be able to add more. And this is the PMI New Jersey chapter has a paid Miro license. And what the paid version gives you, and it's really not that expensive, it's probably around $100 a year. And again, I'm not advertising for Miro, but what this gives you is the ability to share the link without having people to log in and create an account. And to me, that whenever you want to do something like this, that makes it really a lot easier because nobody wants to deal with another user ID and password for something. So that's why the PMI New Jersey chapter is paying for this license. All right, so far I see 2 questions coming in here. And again, when we do start having these discussions, it's really all about everybody. Like it's not just Nitin, in my opinion. It could be somebody else in the audience that might have a better answer. And so what we want, we just want to build on each other's comments and any kind of questions that you might have, because this is really just a growth opportunity. And if there's something that's troubling you uh, in your current environment, you don't need to mention your company name or anything. You could just say, hey, I've got this problem. I got this team member that's doing this and that. What kinds of things could we do? So we don't really need to worry about naming names. We can just talk about situations that we're all in. And when I share my experiences, it could be my current job or it could be 5 jobs ago. It could be any job that I might be referring to. So, uh, everyone should really feel safe. It's interesting, and I see a lot of AI questions in here.
I think we've got a few good ones, Bob. Should we move on ahead?
Sure, sounds good.
All righty. So if we were in a room together with a development team, we try to group some of these together. And this is after a silent writing exercise. So, we have different personalities. Some people are a little shy and introverted. Some people are very loud, expressive, like extroverts. So to be fair and balanced, we just say, hey, whatever you have, put it on a little sticky note and then slap it on the wall. And then we might say, oh, I was thinking of that as well, or these are similar, so let's group them together. So an artful facilitator, such as a Scrum Master, might help with that as well. And now that we have a lot of these topics here, we can see if there's some sort of ranking we can do. I don't know if Miro would allow like a thumbs up or a vote. And again, there are different ways a Scrum Master could facilitate that as well. So Bob, I'll lean on you from the tech side.
I was basically looking here. I don't see a way to actually do voting or anything, so uh, I don't actually see it now. If anybody in the audience might have experience, that'd be great as well. You could share that with us. Let's see. All right. Um, oh, that's Microsoft, and this is the Miro options.
And in case that doesn't happen, a Scrum Master could ask an open-ended question as well, saying, hey, as an example, would you like to go top down, bottom up, or zigzag? As in, you are having some faith and trust in a facilitator to just pick a topic. Now, some people like it in a more engineered practice, predictable, top down or bottom up. Zigzag could be anything, ad hoc.
Any thoughts from anybody in the audience?
Maybe you can just try having people type in their initials after the question. That'll count as a vote.
That's
Could
an
do
idea
that.
if people want to do that.
And I'm looking here, there's really not that many, so I think we can get this getting started over here as we are getting started. So what do you think, Nate? We'll just grab one and get going?
Let's see. I got somebody put an initial on the very first one. So it
Okay.
might be just a little top down. So yeah, why don't we just pick the first one? Because that's the only what we see technically.
All right, so I'm gonna mark this one complete to getting started because we started already. And we got a person that put their initials here. Do you think it's a good idea to use AI to generate stories based off of the deliverable descriptions acceptance criteria? That's interesting.
So if I can add one thing, I don't know if
Sure.
you can you hear me?
Yes.
So on that note, at work, I heard from another RT. We have like a biweekly coach and RTE meeting, and I'm an RTE. And one of the RTEs mentioned that they do this, that they basically input the information of, the description and acceptance criteria from the Epic and allow Copilot to generate the stories based, for develop, excuse me, for developers and testers. Uh, and I guess it would also have to be based off the size of the deliverable itself, right? Um, so that's where I was trying to go. I was trying to I was just trying to
Yeah,
see if anybody else is doing something similar to that because I was thinking that that could save the team a lot of time. The only thing is that they would have to just go ahead and review the information and update it as needed.
right, right. Thank you for that context. If I could just have a few thoughts, because this intrigues me as well. So I'm an agile coach and I've been a former product owner. We've also had a guest speaker use an AI tool in real time in front of an audience once with a vision and saying, "Hey, I want to start a dog walking company, right? Give me a vision statement, and then what would that look like?" And it's, oh, okay. And then to get to another level of granularity till we got to user stories. And we went down to, I would say, the title of stories before we found to go even deeper, there would be a lot of human intervention needed, or at least on the onset, because you're just starting it off like as a startup, right? You might already have a larger product, robust features, things that are in flight, right?
Right,
So certainly to see where are you at, and maybe if you're an RTE, that means you're juggling many teams, right?
right.
And they might have different features and different deliverables and so on. So is it a new team that's just spun off or something that's you're trying to sustain something, right? Um, I personally like to get to, and this is bias, get to the level of a user story title and pause because that will help validate a few things, right? I wouldn't get into the acceptance criteria that lies within a
Okay.
user story, right? That can certainly evolve, and it will, because your developers who are masters of their craft do need something tangible, right? And you have the invest model, you want small user stories, sizable stories, so on and so forth. And you have great discussions. Hey, I think we've captured that, but it's in this story, or how do we slice it? Does it make sense? This is just hallucination, right? So it depends, again, in my opinion, how granular you want to go, themes,
Right.
epics, features, stories, and where do you want to stop and pause before it gets to be more meaningful. So those are just my thoughts.
No, no, no. I get you. Keep it simple.
Yeah, if you can.
Yeah.
And
Thank
certainly
you.
open to others for anything.
If I could share, it I would say it depends. Like if you think about it, is the feature or the epic that you're referring to, is that really detailed enough for AI to help you? Or is it something like, it's very, very detailed? Or is it just a few sentences? Now, if it's a few sentences, then what you're probably doing is asking AI to kind of just make up stuff. Uh, and that's where you have to be extra cautious as far as what Nitin was saying, where you don't want AI to just end up designing the thing for you and then just
Right.
saying, "Hey, this looks good. We should take this." But if you have really detailed features, it could be helpful to have AI say, "Hey, what would some stories look like?" But don't I can't I don't know if the word trust is the right word to use, but don't take it for granted that what AI is giving you is correct. It's just, to me, would be like a starter, where you can actually, as long
Absolutely.
as long as the human is actually taking the output and building on it and changing it and working with AI as a tool instead of having AI thinking that, AI is going to give me the answer. That would be a safer approach. Like I'll give you a use case. I was working with somebody and they had a spreadsheet that didn't have summaries. They had descriptions, they had acceptance criteria. And to me, that was a great use for an AI because basically we had a spreadsheet with descriptions, acceptance criteria, and we asked the AI to give me a 8-word summary of what this is. And basically, it was like maybe 100 or so items, and basically we just ran it through and came up with these great summaries. And it was like that was good. And so there's things that AI is really helpful for, but there's things that when it comes to being creative, that's where we have to be careful, especially as agilists. But it's there's nothing wrong with getting started with something, as long as you don't say just because AI did it, it's right. What's
No,
the rest of the people out there think?
Well,
yeah, I mean, I got you. It's a talking point, right? So,
Great.
yeah. I'd like to chime in here. Not my last job before, I was a contractor on a program where the biggest problem was we didn't have domain experts on our teams. We were re-engineering a medical claims system. And I don't know if anyone has any insight into this, but it turns out the processing of medical claims through health insurance and through the doctors back to the insurance company is highly regulated and very complicated with a lot of specific cases depending on the claim involved. So we were struggling because we didn't have enough experts in exactly what the system needed to do to meet all those requirements. And in fact, even defining all the requirements. Just any old AI system isn't going to be able to create that. You'd need one that's trained specific to that domain. So just saying, hey, let's get AI to write those stories, I don't think would be a good idea. If we did have good epics, it might be able to take a first crack at the stories from which you could then refine them to the point where they're useful for the developers. But it's not going to create knowledge we don't have any. And I think, Bob, I think that's basically what you were saying a minute ago, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. It it's interesting. It uses the knowledge that it has. I'm not disparaging it, but sometimes it
No.
becomes creative. Like I don't really have the answer, but this sounds good, right? And it seems like you get that kind of stuff. Like when I first started experimenting with that AI, I said, here's a bunch of stories that we have. Can you make them align, in a user story format? And it came out with this total. It just took the words that I had already and just put them in the right format. I was like, man, this is a joke. I'm like, thank goodness I read it, right? Because you just can't
Yeah.
just take what it gives you, right? But it's a it's a starting place. Like, does anybody else have any thoughts about this?
Yeah, if I can jump in, I get excited easily, and I am an early adopter. To me, I think it's a no-brainer. If AI can code, which it's very capable and it's coding, it's a no-brainer to write user stories for AI. However, I would feel more comfortable if there is a specialized development for agile. I came across one for Career Explorer. It's called Career Explorer AI, built on the top of Chat GPT. So if there is a specialized, if somebody has done additional development work and then created a specialized application for agile, then I'll feel more comfortable rather than just using general chat GPT for writing user stories. And somebody may have already developed it. I was going to search it as well. To me, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, we should be very open to generative AI developing user stories.
And the other question would be if anything you put in there becomes public knowledge, right? So you have to be careful if you're working on something for your company that they don't want the rest of the world to know about. So all those things, you should basically have in the back of your mind that as we're experimenting and using these tools.
Absolutely. So if you are applying it at your work, absolutely, you have to work with the technology team and other parts of the organization, and you have to follow the guardrails that have been put by that organization. But it's a classic application of generative AI, so it should be encouraged for writing user stories, in my opinion.
All right, can we say this is done? Are we okay?
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for bringing this up. And as John said,
and while this is happening very quickly, teams might have new things to put into the backlog or in the not started. Feel free. And sometimes based on our discussions that, oh, wait, I've got a bit of a tangent. Let me put that in there. So it's still there. It's kind of visible, recorded. It could be at the bottom of the list, but your backlogs are breathing, living artifacts. So what's next, Bob?
All right, this one has PS on it. So let's move this over.
All right.
I feel since AI started, it's harder finding jobs in project management. When my job ended in July 2024, I couldn't find a job, of project management, and had to take whatever job I could find. Yeah, that's definitely a tough place to be. Wow. What's everybody's experience on this?
And hey, Bob, maybe the next one we could also tag team. I know we like one at a time. The next card was mine, how's the job market for agile enthusiasts? So I think some things related to, career path, struggles, AI. We might blend this in.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did have the experience last year where I was working a government program, and then the new administration came in, so that ended up about where one might expect. But there was a lot of the government people who were under a lot of stress to try to trim things down, came back and asked. So the agile project managers, they basically asked, okay, what are these folks doing? We don't understand. They're not coding. We need coders. We need to get rid of them. So three of us were, Friday afternoon brought in, told, okay, it's 1 o'clock, and at 3 o'clock your emails will be turned off. So it was that kind of brute force. We're getting rid of you without understanding what we did. And then a month later, I got a phone call that they had a project that was at risk because the ops stuff that I was doing didn't get done. So I think that part of it is that people don't understand how the various members of an agile team work together to ensure the right things are done in a timely fashion. And I think that's client education as much as anything else, but it also affects hiring. I think when a lot of times when people want to hire, say, agile program managers or project managers, they what they really want is they want programmers who, by the way, can also organize work.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing.
Like side discussion I'm having with my friends, and that this is nothing related at all to my job. They were mentioning where you could actually use Claude 4.5 and basically have Claude, you could take an existing application and say, I want to migrate this to a different level. And basically, the people that I was talking to were shocked that it could actually do that. He gave an example where there was a Sitecore customer that they were supporting, and they wanted to go headless. And so, and they were like on an older version of Sitecore. And so basically a consulting company came in and they said, oh, it's going to be 12 months, like $2 million. All right. And so then this person that the guy was talking to said, I'm just going to try to do this with AI. So they used Claude 4.5 and they actually built it in a month and did it for $100,000. Something that would have taken at least a year to do. So it's definitely there. It's definitely real. It's definitely something that's very powerful. And I'm sure. Does anybody else have any, stories or examples you could share as far as how AI is really impacting our industry?
So I am in the job market, and I'm gonna flip the coin a little bit to see how am I leveraging AI in my job search. And the traditional Word documents, you go to LinkedIn, job hunting, you see a post for Scrum Master, Product Owner, Agile Coach, Team Coach. Oh, this is a great fit. And I'm reading through things, and then I go back to my traditional Word document and I tweak it and I hit submit. And I said, you know what? Let me try a tool like Claude and see if it could get me a custom cover letter, right? Or maybe audit my resume. So what I started doing now is doing a copy and paste from the postings on LinkedIn and saying, here's my Word document, my work summary, the posting. Can you just marry it up to see how I would shine bright to a recruiter or someone in HR? You must specify the persona to make it more meaningful. And sure enough, I get a free audit and I get spit out a Word document, may not be the best of templates. And I say, oh, this might be better suited for somebody in HR. So I'm starting that approach now. Now, a note of caution, there's some things I may not have. I might not be that candidate that has those tools or certain skills. So it might be a 90% match. And I have to go back into that resume to make sure, hey, I don't have expertise in this one tool that they're looking for. So please eliminate it. Okay, gotcha, do it. So from flipping the coin, quick summary, I am using AI tools to try to market myself and also try to save time. So I'll pause with that. And I see, hey, I think Pam has raised her hand. Go ahead, Pam.
Oh, yes, that's interesting what you just mentioned. I actually had a call from a recruiter that actually called me because he could tell that my resume was not AI. He said that he received 4 or 5 resumes that were exactly the same because of people using AI.
Yeah, and that's another flag, right? I'm a little wary that, and when I reach out with LinkedIn messages, sometimes I write, this is written with free flow text and not an AI.
Mhm.
But yeah, if AI is doing the same thing, right? Predictable patterns, word search, and so on and so forth, I think the human brain is better trained than AI, right? If you're seeing like 20 resumes a day, 50 resumes a day, then they might say, I think this is AI.
Yeah,
So
but then
great point.
there's also fake jobs on LinkedIn too. I had a couple of jobs reach out to me and then I apply for them and then they want to offer me the job and it turns out they're fake. Because I reached out to people on LinkedIn and they said they never heard of such a person at the company. And so
Wow.
that's another thing that's been happening as well.
Oh, that's bothersome.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna become very challenging for the recruiters because most people are using AI and the resumes are so polished that they will have a hard time separating real skills versus just a very well-written resume.
That's a
Right,
good
and
point.
that's where the resume systems that many companies, maybe most companies use, nowadays are probably driven by AI more than anything else. If you're not working directly with a human being to begin with, and can establish a relationship, then your resume goes in. AI is going to look at it, look for X number of criteria. So in that case, it feels like you may as well use AI in order to tailor the resume so that the AI that reads it is going to do a head nod. But if your resume is just going to be the same as 50 other people, then the question is how effective is that? And I don't have a good answer for that. I had the experience a couple years ago of sending out 100 resumes, and each one of which was custom cover letter, tailored, what you would call it, resume. And it was tough. I finally did get a rewarding job, but it was a very long slog. Um, So the best advice I got was try to cultivate through your network or try to grow your network so that you're talking with a human being, and find out where they might have needs that they don't realize yet. Um, but that's a much longer, much harder way of going about it.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. That's great insights right there. All right, does anybody else have anything in this area before we move on? And
Nitin,
sometimes
just I
things
would
might
like
be,
to share one thing. I hope my voice
go
is
ahead.
coming.
Yes, Alpesh, go ahead.
Yeah, so you mentioned about the AI bot. I think it was already there, like it was like prior to the AI bot. I think Higher View or something, that sort of an app which used to interview and capture the information. But I have happened to connect with a few AI bots, and experience is not very positive. They ask some predefined questions, and so if you know how to answer those questions, then they just let the recruiter know. They just do the transcribe of your what you have shared. So it's not really helpful, I will say. It's trying to eliminate people and not very helpful. It's just my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I felt weird as if I'm talking to maybe a Terminator from the future disguised as a helpful HR person. And then I was like, am I being scammed with voice recognition? I think I did well on this interview, but it was a very surreal, unusual thing. And I didn't get that job, and I didn't get meaningful feedback about how I did. And there was nobody really to follow up with either, right? It was just like a very quick, mechanical, human-like screening, but that was it. Alrighty, folks. Do we want to move on to any other topics, or
I
continue?
I just wanted to share something that I well, a while ago I had a really, really talented developer that could pretty much do anything. And then he ended up, unfortunately, our paths separated. He ended up being employed. And then we were having a conversation one day, and he's saying, I keep on failing the code test. I'm like, what? How could that be? And then he goes, well, they ask these questions and they're like, they don't really know the answers. I say, well, why don't you just Google what they ask Jira developers and then have the answers ready? And he goes, oh. And so, maybe we could take that same type of logic and apply it here when we're dealing with AI as far as trying to anticipate what it is they're going to be looking for or asking. So with that, I guess we can move on then.
Or Lashawn, actually.
Yeah,
Oh,
actually,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say anything. No, you're good. Good. It's your
Go
turn.
ahead.
Oh, I
Please.
thought I did. Did you? Wait, there.
Alrighty, so I put somebody on mute. Let's see, what else do we have, Bob?
Yeah, can I jump in with a follow-up question on the
Sure.
same topic? I'm sorry. I just want to know if that is a perception that it's becoming harder to find a project management job. Is it a perception or a reality? Does any of you have some statistics on whether there is a decline or actually the program and project management jobs are increasing as far as demand is concerned?
Maybe John might have some insight because he's very well
I
connected
have
with
an opinion as
PMI.
well. John, you have anything? Otherwise, I have an opinion and a reference as well.
Well, I always have an opinion, but you know, there, you know, we're clearly in a very disruptive period here, right? And without talking about all of economics, there was this whole overhiring, and then also, so the economy has changed, and then also AI and all those things. You know, PMI is still bullish on the future of project management. Clearly, there are going to be there are changes that have to happen. The biggest is being AI, and so I'll push the AI, PMI's products for you. PMI offers, I think, four, is it five now, free AI training courses for PMI members. I heartily encourage all of you to take advantage of that. Um, you know, I I from my casual observations about job postings and things like that is that I, there are still project management jobs to be had. It may not be in the industry that you want. Like for example, if you want to work for, you know, like Meta or things like that, they may not be there. You may have to pivot to a different industry or some different business line. The jobs are still there, but no doubt about it that they're at least for the time being more difficult to find. All this talk about AI and all those things are fantastic. Those are tools that you definitely should take advantage of. However, again, if you listen to people who provide coaching for job hunting and things like that, the number one way to get a job is still through networking. You have to meet people, talk to people, go to LinkedIn, make those connections, reach out. So don't dump the entire burden on AI alone. Good old fashioned, footwork or, handshake and things like that. Those are still the way to, the most certain way of getting a job. And at least as I'm reading, monitoring the chat too, is that at least it'll help you avoid all those fake jobs that are out there. So those are my thoughts and from my observations.
I think somebody else had something too. Thank you, John. Nobody else? All right. I'm just going to grab this one because this is on the same thought process we seem to be on here. Will AI impact agile projects? I think everybody's pretty much saying yes, unless somebody disagrees. I was at a very interesting session with Craig Larman. He is the inventor of Less. And if you think about it, if teams end up becoming AI agents, right? Will they need a Scrum Master? Will they need a product owner and those kinds of things? So it's definitely going to be a very interesting future. And Craig was like mentioning how if you're a visual designer or you're a graphic designer and stuff like that, you should be probably looking for a different job and stuff. My daughter, who's going for her Bachelor of Fine Arts, she was very much into the graphic stuff, but she switched over to oil painting because she saw what was happening around her. So it's definitely here. Any other thoughts on that?
Bob, didn't I see Pamela Sprott has her hand up?
Go ahead, Pamela.
Oh no, I'm sorry. That was from before. I never put it down. I'll put it down.
Okay.
All right.
I just the thought of recreating ourselves. When I started out my career, I was an aerospace programmer in a language I'm too embarrassed to let you guys know about. But I ended up, I mean, I don't know if it was out of boredom or out of, gee, I see more potential going this way or that way. That's when I started getting into project leadership, and then I got back into software with a different set of languages and methodologies. And then I went back into project engineering, and then I went from aerospace to to Amazon. And then from there, I went to medical systems and then to NHTSA, Department of Transportation. So um, I, I felt like it was pretty organic. Um, um, I mean, it would have been nicer if I had a thought, hey, I think I'm going to go into commercial at this point. Let me look at the companies, let me see what I'd like to target, and so on and so forth. And it didn't really work out that way, but it might have been more effective if it had. But I think that anyone, especially nowadays, Anyone really needs to try to look try to look forward and see, okay, what do people need right now, and what might be interesting to work on, within some parameters, like ethical ones, for example. Like I would never do this kind of a position. I'd never work in this kind of industry, um, but I think we need to accustom ourselves to taking the lessons we've learned from our experience to date, and then seeing how they might apply to a new role or a new domain or what have you. That seems it seems like that was useful to me in my career, and it's essential going forward to folks that are earlier in their careers nowadays.
Thank you for sharing that, Steve.
Yeah, insightful. Thank you.
And just the thought, like, again, I'm probably dating myself, but when I started my career, I was in the office every day, and there was people around me that helped mentor and coach me.
Yeah.
And now, now a lot of people, they never go into the office. And so how do you get that experience and stuff like that? How do you have those coffee chats around the break room, and where you really get the insight as far as really what's going on and stuff? It's an interesting world now.
Right. And this Pramod, just add to Steve. So first of all, thanks for sharing. I think case in point, the meeting we're having right now, right? I mean, I grew up in a waterfall model. I started doing project program management, and about 15, 16 years ago, I think Agile started, coming into our way, and slowly, I mean, the work I do these days about probably 50-50, if not 60-40 Agile, So slowly we have trained ourselves, for lack of a better word, of operating differently, working differently. I totally recognize that AI is a whole different ballgame, but nevertheless, I think trying to train myself slowly through where can I start making a dent, like where can I start using AI, whether it's simple things like meeting minutes to risk logs to doing a sprint ceremony. Definitely, we should all look at ways how we can reinvent or at least start applying it step by step.
Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else on reinventing ourselves? Okay, then which one should we do next? I see a thumbs up on this one over here. Should we grab that one?
Sure. And very quickly, from a Kanban backlog perspective, reinventing ourselves was not in our original to do or not started, but because it just came about, a facilitator put it right there so we know what's happening in the moment. Yeah, so let's do the next one, Bob, like you said.
Okay. Is anyone using AI bots as a participant in user stories to learn and potentially help create stories going forward? That's interesting. I'd like to learn about that. Is anybody out there doing that?
That is interesting. I'm curious about this as well. I do know with chatbots in general, if you go beyond certain levels, maybe questions 8 or 10, there is some element of hallucination. But I imagine if there were some repetitive questions or patterns coming about, that might help someone like a product owner capture a potential or several user stories. Airlines, as an example, I used the American Airlines chatbot sometime last year to see if I could switch tickets to a different date. In this case, it's a very predictable state, right? There's an existing customer, holds tickets, we know date, we know airport, we know outbound flight, paid for ticket, and the customer is looking for a switch. What are they going to ask? availability, maybe a booking class change, and eventually what's it going to cost me, if anything at all, right? And given all that information, now instead of spending time on hold with customer service, it probably routed to a human being to validate a few things, right? Because you need that human intervention to say, yeah, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars, based on that flow. Now, is that application or feature available online? I'm not sure, but if it's something repetitive, is there a product owner who might want to write a story around that or capture a feature? That'd be interesting.
This is interesting because it's making me think, could you imagine having a daily scrum and have some AI bots show up? Oh my goodness. It's crazy. Wow. Anybody have any experience? All right,
Closest
okay,
thing
do we
I've seen, it's attempts to create transcripts from meetings. It was and I'm trying to remember if it was Skype or Zoom. It was a few years ago, and a few years ago it was kind of marginally useful. And lately it's gotten better, but I'm not sure I would want to go from something that automatically tries to hear what we have to say and transcribe that into written English to something that makes conclusions based off of what it thought it heard. But there's got to be room for productivity improvement with something that at least gives you a first crack at that kind of thing.
Well, quick things. I have used Zoom AI for summarizing meeting, and I found it very useful. And I'm looking for to take it to the next level, some AI tool which also summarizes the current status every 15 minutes, for example, during a 1 hour meeting, to summarize where we are, what have we discussed so far, and so on and so forth. But yes, I have used Zoom AI. It does a great job in capturing meeting minutes, action items, and so on and so forth. And as we were talking, I was looking for a specialized agile application. I have not used this personally, but I have a high willingness after today's discussion to explore. What came up from a quick search is there is a AI extension for agile in Azure DevOps. Some of you may have already used it. I have not, but I'm going to look more closer at it to find applications for agile and particularly for writing user stories, acceptance criteria, etc. As well as test planning, test scripts. To me, this it's a no-brainer. Gen AI should play a major role in agile moving forward.
I like what you've shared and appreciate that. I'm just going down memory lane where I was in a boardroom type setting where a lot of decision makers were there. There's a lot of talk till I got up and I created swim lanes and I had sticky notes and I actually started throwing things up in there, capturing some of the key things. So instead of people getting into some fantasy or vision, I wanted to hopefully make it more tangible where we could actually get down to some decision making, or if not, recognize what's out there. And they appreciated that because they were a really great team. Everybody knew personalities. There wasn't really conflict. Everybody was really stating what's the truth, the landscape, opinions, whatever it is, because they just wanted a best path forward. And just seeing a visual element of that really gave shape to some next steps. And I think if you, in your case, if you had a tool capturing that every 15 minutes instead of a human intervention type thing, would help with potentially visualizing potential decision points. So hopefully you find it and share it with us.
Hi, this is Ralph too I work for the state of New Jersey, and we are allowed to use our own the New Jersey State AI platform, and I utilize it all the time for doing basic tasks like meeting minutes. And what I find it's very useful for is taking the transcript from Teams, and as long as we have an approved template for the meeting minutes that you upload with the transcript, and then you do a really crystal clear prompt, it really does capture those sort of things very accurately. And of course, you have to review it, but use it all the time for time savings in reference to filling out templates, creating drafts of certain things, helping people do risk assessments and come up with certain risk mitigation strategies, stuff like that. So we try to utilize it all the time to help us be more productive.
That's awesome. That's really nice to hear.
Yeah, especially at the government level, that's huge.
Yeah. And we're going to be very careful with what you're sharing, so it can only be on their site.
Right.
You might be starting a revolution for us, Ralph. If Ralph can do it with the state, why can't we do it?
Right?
Right?
I do have a comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Mentioning the user stories, having the AI bot generate the user stories, which I think is great. We've been doing that. And we also go into our Jira board and take an epic and say, okay, here's a feature, break this down into, let's say, 5 or 10 user stories. And it does a real good job of identifying like 10 user stories. And the nice thing about Jira is there's a button to say accept or reject the user story that the bot generated. So you can quickly just go in and maybe accept the 7 that you like and just quickly reject the other 3. And maybe out of that 7, maybe 2 you never really even thought of. And we also use it for, we have a user story, it gets story pointed at like an 8. And we go to the development team and say, guys, girls, it can't be an 8. It's too big. We have a 2-week sprint. Let's break it up into 2 smaller stories. Let's split it. And the development team comes back and says, no, by the nature of the beast, it's literally impossible to split the user story. It has to be an 8. Well, Jira also has a button to click, split the story, immediately splits the story using all its vast knowledge. And then the development team is like, oh, yeah, I guess we could do that.
There's a challenge.
Sounds like you have some really good plugins for Jira there.
Yeah, is there like a plugin or a tool, or like you say, you just got a button, accept this, and it shifts it to your backlog?
Jira now has this AI icon, like a sunbeam, that you can just bring it up, and it's part of the package. So.
Yeah, and I just did another search. Actually, Jira has AI Scrum Assistant, the AI tool in Jira that helps you write user stories.
Now you just need to get your company to approve it, right?
That's so true. Yeah, that's why there is so much development and all these AI tools. I think it's becoming a real kind of a demarcation of what part of population has access to these AI tools versus those of us who don't. And it's going to be a real differentiator in the future, having access to all these tools. And how to keep up. There's so much rapid development going on, and it's very hard and challenging to keep up with all the new tools that come every month now.
Yeah, indeed. So let's do a time check. We've got about 4 minutes. I don't know if we can take another one or we should start winding down, Bob.
Yeah,
We do have an open forum after this as well, by the way. So people are welcome to stay on and it's after camera, but up to you, Bob. What do you think?
it's up to everybody here. This is our lean coffee. Do we want to call it or do we want to try to do one more? I can't see what's going on in the chat, Nitin, so because I'm sharing my screen here.
Yeah, nothing in the chat as yet.
Okay.
We've just got some reference to articles. So again, maybe philosophically and very similar to product backlogs, you have things on the top that are either more pressing, more urgent, have more value, things that just have to be addressed first, right? And we try to emulate some of that with this Miro board. We pretty much try to follow a top-down approach or one with a thumbs up, right? Which means that wherever we landed today, as of right now, it's fine. It doesn't mean we'll blaze through everything. This is our time box, right? And um, things still remain in the backlog. They're not lost. They're still visible. And the philosophy is we will eventually get to the remainder of the things. Maybe at another lean coffee, right? And this is a public Miro board. We still have it. And a lot of Scrum teams work in that fashion, right? And that's where there's a healthy tension between a product owner and the dev team as well. Hey, you said that you wanted to tackle this first, and now I'm seeing it's at number 3 slotted down. Did anything change, or what happened, or what emerged? And the product owner, of course, has a balancing act. Juggling with a multitude of stakeholders, maybe compliance, governance, competition, budget, and then coming back to masters of their craft, the members of the dev team, to see where are we at. And the Scrum Master is going to just put it all together as well. So, in a nutshell, you have experienced an informal virtual lean coffee. Again, we did not have any set agendas. We did not plan for any topics. These are just things that emerged. We used the best of time. We got a sense of the chat. We got a sense of a bit of a mood and some excitement, sadness, quiet time as well. So you have to read all of that with groups of people and teams and see team dynamics as well. John C. sometimes has announcements as well.
Yeah, we should let John
the
in.
popular question is like, hey, what's the code for this? For my PDOs. John, maybe we'll give it to you.
Well, not that many. Well,
Already
first of all,
have.
thank you. Thank you very much, Nitin and Bob, for once again facilitating this lean coffee. And again, I hope you'll hang around after we stop the recording to chat some more.